The winner is Marlon Brando in The Godfather.
But I will be glad to share with the press afterwards that he very regretfully cannot accept this very generous award.
Welcome to the Stars Rewind channel. Marlon Brando, the screen legend known for his iconic roles in The Godfather and A Streetcar named Desire, has left a strong impression in the hearts of the public as a captivating star and a pioneer in the art of acting. But behind his talent and masculine charm, Brando was a man full of contradictions and complexities, a man always seeking freedom and confronting the ghosts of his past. Under the bright lights of Hollywood, he was not just an actor, but a rebel, challenging all rules and norms, both on screen and in life. From tumultuous relationships, fighting for the rights of Native Americans, to the hidden and daring aspects of his sexuality, Brando chose his own path, refusing to conform to any standards, even if it meant facing painful consequences. Join us as we delve into the complex and fascinating story of Marlon Brando, not only through his brilliant achievements on screen, but also through the ups and downs of his personal life, to better understand the man who changed Hollywood and gave us a completely different perspective on acting and freedom. Early life. Marlon Brando was born on April 3, 1924, in Omaha, Nebraska, into a family dominated by personal tragedies and instability. His father, Marlon Brando Sr., was a strong but unkind man, often lost in alcohol and violence. His mother, Dodie Pennebaker, was an artist with a sensitive soul, once a stage actress, but eventually fell into addiction and depression. For Marlon, his love for his mother was intense and full of hope, but it was also overshadowed by the pain of watching her lose herself to alcohol. Marlon's childhood was filled with contradictions. Little Brando had to witness his mother drunken in bars, then take her home himself, caring for her like a child. This created a heavy burden for Marlon and was also the reason he developed a unique acting ability early on, the ability to mimic and imitate everything around him to get his mother's attention. Those rare moments when Dodie smiled were precious to Marlon, as he felt the love he always craved. Marlon's father, Marlon Brando Sr., was a man of many contradictions. He was a strict father, but was often absent from family life due to his job as a salesman. His absence was not only physical, but also emotional. Whenever he was home, he frequently drank and used harsh words to vent his frustrations on his wife and children. To Marlon, his father was not just a stranger, but also the source of fear and anger that followed him throughout his life. Marlon's mother, Dodie Brando, was an artist at heart. She had been an actress and had inspired him artistically. She loved life, loved nature, but she too became a victim of family misfortune. She drowned herself in alcohol to escape reality, leaving her son with immense disappointment and sorrow. As a child, Brando had to learn how to care for his drunk mother, finding her in bars, bringing her home, and trying to get her attention with silly jokes. In this home filled with misfortune and violence, Brando found an escape through rebellion. He became a rebellious child, always challenging authority, from skipping school, causing trouble, to confronting his father. But above all, he found joy in mimicking and imitating everything around him, from neighbors and friends to animals. This was not just a way for him to capture his mother's attention, but also the beginning of his acting career. At 17, Brando was expelled from school for insubordination. His father, having lost patience, sent him to the Shattuck Military Academy to instill discipline. However, even in that strict environment, Brando could not adapt. He continued his rebellious behavior and was eventually expelled. That was when he decided to leave his hometown, leaving behind painful memories to seek freedom and a new life in New York. At 19, Marlon decided to leave behind his painful past in the American Midwest to head to New York, the city of opportunities and new hopes. There, he found refuge and guidance from Stella Adler, an inspiring teacher who not only helped Marlon discover his artistic potential, but also became a surrogate mother, giving him the warmth he had always lacked. It was Adler who helped Marlon understand that art could be a path to liberation, a means of turning pain and anger into expressive power. And thus, his emotional journey into acting officially began. Early career. When Marlon Brando arrived in New York, he carried with him all the dreams, pain, and anger from his childhood. He quickly found a connection with Broadway and began attending Stella Adler's classes at the Actors Studio, where he learned how to channel his deepest emotions into each role. Adler's acting method, based on real experiences and genuine emotions, not only suited Marlon but also helped him develop a completely different acting style, in stark contrast to the artificial performances of that time. For Marlon, the stage was the only place where he could escape his painful reality and find real meaning in life. Marlon's first role on Broadway was in the play I Remember Mama in 1944. Although it was not a major role, his presence left a strong impression with the authenticity of his gestures and emotions. To the audience, Marlon was a breath of fresh air, an actor who did not simply recite lines but lived fully with his character. He brought a new and bold approach, making people take notice. In 1947, Marlon Brando truly exploded onto the stage with his role as Stanley Kowalski in Tennessee Williams' A Streetcar Named Desire, directed by Elia Kazan. This role not only catapulted him to fame, but also redefined the entire art of acting. Marlon brought Stanley to life with a raw, intense, and sensual energy, entirely different from any role previously seen on stage. The audience was astounded by the combination of Brando's intense masculinity and the vulnerability within, which he portrayed so naturally that it felt as if he was not acting but was truly Stanley. His success on stage opened the door for Brando to enter the world of cinema, and in 1950 he made his film debut in The Men, where he played a paralyzed war veteran. To prepare for the role, Marlon spent months living with disabled soldiers, understanding their pain. He not only learned how to physically express their struggles, but also depicted the psychological turmoil of a man who had lost hope for the future. His dedication and authenticity moved both audiences and critics, establishing his name as a symbol for a new generation of actors, those who dared to live truthfully with their emotions and turn them into art. Marlon Brando's early career was a combination of innate talent and relentless effort. He was not just an actor. He was someone who transformed the public's perception of acting, turning it from mere entertainment into a true art form, where the actor lived fully with each character and conveyed the deepest layers of human emotion. Successful career. After taking his first hesitant steps in the film industry, Marlon Brando quickly transformed into a shining star, a revolutionary icon of American cinema. His career soared with his role in A Streetcar Named Desire, 1951, in which Brando portrayed the powerful and magnetic Stanley Kowalski. This role not only elevated his fame to new heights, but also defined a new acting style for Hollywood, a bold blend of naturalism and raw emotion. Brando didn't just play the role. He lived as the character, letting himself be swept up in a storm of intense emotions. In 1954, Brando won the Oscar for Best Actor for his role as Terry Malloy in On the Waterfront. This was a significant milestone, marking widespread recognition of his talent and unique acting style. Terry Malloy's character was a testament to Brando's natural and authentic approach, as he conveyed the pain and inner struggle of a laborer caught between loyalty and the desire for justice. The line, "I could have been a contender," became one of the most iconic moments in world cinema, etched into audiences' minds and solidifying Brando's reputation. The 1950s were a peak period for Brando, as he continuously took on major film projects and made a strong impression with diverse roles. From the revolutionary hero Emiliano Zapata in Viva Zapata, 1952, to the strong-willed gang leader in The Wild One, 1953, Brando showcased his versatility and depth. He was unafraid of change and unafraid of challenging himself to explore new aspects of acting. One of his most iconic roles was that of Vito Corleone in The Godfather, 1972, a role that earned him his second Oscar for Best Actor. Vito Corleone was not only a character full of authority, but also a father with profound life philosophies and a deep love for his family. Brando brought an irresistible charm to the role, making the audience both fear and respect the character. His nuanced performance gave life to a mafia boss with a human heart, and The Godfather became one of the greatest films of all time. Brando's contributions weren't limited to acting. He also made revolutionary changes in how roles were approached and films were made. He transformed the very concept of acting in Hollywood, shifting from rigid and conventional performances to a freer, more authentic, and emotional style. Brando paved the way for the next generation of actors, from Robert De Niro to Al Pacino, all of whom acknowledged his influence on their own acting styles. However, Brando's career was not always smooth sailing. During the 1960s, he faced a string of box office failures and tense relationships with directors. But with the success of The Godfather, Marlon Brando reaffirmed his place as a true legend. The 1970s saw Brando's triumphant return with a series of iconic roles, further establishing his status as a symbol of not only acting talent but also resilience in the turbulent entertainment industry. After The Godfather, Brando continued to showcase his remarkable acting prowess in Last Tango in Paris, 1972, a controversial film due to its sensitive content and bold storyline. In the role of Paul, an older man living in solitude after his wife's death, Brando delivered a performance full of emotion, tearing apart conventional norms of acting. It was a role in which he opened up, leaving a part of himself in the character. Brando's authenticity and personal pain in the film made it one of the most profound portrayals in cinematic history. He then surprised the world by taking on the role of Jor-El in Superman, 1978. Though it was a brief appearance, Brando demanded a record-breaking fee for the role, a testament to his confidence and the undeniable value he brought. He approached the character of Jor-El not merely as a supporting role, but as a dignified presence, adding depth to Superman's story. His appearance garnered special attention for the film, and through this, Brando affirmed that every role he played, big or small, could leave an indelible mark. Throughout his career, Marlon Brando became a symbol of artistic freedom and an acting style unbound by any conventions. He changed the way Hollywood perceived acting, opening up new horizons for young actors, those seeking truth in every role. Brando's contributions to cinema went beyond the films he starred in. He sparked a revolution in acting, bringing depth, complexity, and humanity to his characters. Personal life. Marlon Brando, with his captivating allure and magnetic charm, became an icon not only in cinema but also in his passionate and tumultuous love affairs. Brando had 3 official marriages, with Anna Kashfi, Movita Castaneda, and Tarita Teripaya, each of whom played an important role in his life. Anna Kashfi was Brando's first wife, an Anglo-Indian actress. Their marriage took place in 1957 and ended shortly after 2 years due to irreconcilable differences. Anna was once an attractive and mysterious woman, which drew Brando to her at first sight. However, the unstable nature of their marriage quickly became apparent, as they frequently argued over issues related to their lifestyle and their son, Christian Brando. The custody battle after their divorce only worsened their relationship. Anna often accused Brando of being an irresponsible father and abusing their child, while Brando claimed that Anna was an unstable mother, using drugs and exhibiting erratic behavior. Movita Castaneda, Brando's second wife, was an actress who had appeared in Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935, a film in which Brando would later star in the remake. Movita was a strong, independent woman, and they married in 1960. However, this relationship also did not last long, and they divorced after about 2 years together. During this time, Brando began a romantic relationship with Tarita, who would become his third wife. Tarita Terripaya, Brando's final wife, was a Tahitian actress whom Brando met while filming Mutiny on the Bounty, 1962. Tarita was only 19 at the time and attracted Brando with her innocence and simplicity. Brando fell in love with Tarita at first sight and decided to marry her in 1962. With Tarita, Brando found a sense of peace, far removed from the glamour and hustle of Hollywood. They had 2 children together, Tehotu and Cheyenne. However, their relationship did not last forever, and by the 1970s, Brando and Tarita separated. Although they no longer lived together, Brando maintained a close relationship with Tarita and frequently returned to Tahiti to visit her and their children. Apart from his 3 wives, Brando was also famous for numerous extramarital affairs, including relationships with other film icons like Marilyn Monroe and Rita Moreno. His affair with Marilyn Monroe was brief, occurring in 1955 after her divorce from Joe DiMaggio and before her marriage to Arthur Miller. Monroe was not exactly Brando's ideal type, but they shared a connection. Both were lonely and yearned for genuine love. Though the relationship did not last, it left a deep impression on both stars. With Rita Moreno, their love story spanned many years, full of passion but also much pain. Brando and Rita met when both were at the height of their careers. Rita once shared that Brando awakened both her feelings of love and her political and social consciousness. Their relationship was interrupted by Brando's infidelity, causing Rita great pain, to the point that she even contemplated suicide because she could not bear his betrayal. Yet Brando remained someone whom Rita Moreno remembered with an inexplicable mix of emotions, a passionate but complex lover. Brando was also known for his secret homosexual relationships. He once admitted to having romantic experiences with men, including James Dean and Wally Cox. James Dean was a young star deeply influenced by Brando, to the point of mimicking his style and lifestyle. Dean held Brando in high regard, even idolizing him, and their relationship grew beyond mere friendship. With Wally Cox, their bond lasted until Cox's death in 1973. Their friendship and love were so profound that Brando requested that their ashes be mixed after both had passed away, as a testament to their inseparable bond. Brando's love life was incredibly complicated, with fiery affairs mixed with betrayal and heartache. He loved and was loved, but he also brought pain to those around him. This somewhat reflected Brando's character, a man who always craved love but could never truly commit to anyone, a free spirit always seeking passion but full of voids that could never be filled. Marlon Brando had at least 15 children, including those from his marriages as well as illegitimate children. Brando's family life was far from peaceful. Rather, it was always overshadowed by deep tragedies and rifts. Among his children, 2 stood out with stories filled with pain and anguish: Christian Brando and Cheyenne Brando, children who grew up in the complex context of fame and family turmoil. Christian Brando was the firstborn son of Marlon Brando with his first wife, Anna Cashfee. From an early age, Christian's life was anything but easy. He grew up in an unstable environment, witnessing constant arguments and conflicts between his parents. Anna and Brando's marriage was unhappy, and the tensions following their divorce made Christian the center of their legal and emotional battles. After his parents divorced in 1959, Christian lived with his mother for the first 5 years of his life, but the environment was chaotic. Anna Cashfee abused substances, struggled with alcohol addiction, and could not provide stable care for her son. As a result, the court revoked her custody rights, and Christian was placed in his father's care. From that point on, Christian spent much of his childhood with nannies, separated from both his father and mother. He was sent to a boarding school at age 8 and only returned to live with Marlon during his teenage years. However, the father-son relationship between Brando and Christian was never easy. Brando, a legendary actor, was always busy with his career and personal relationships, and he could not give his son the time or attention he needed. Christian grew up in an environment devoid of affection, filled with anger and uncontrolled rebellion. He was expelled from school at 13 after setting fire to a dormitory room, and such rebellious behavior continued throughout his youth. In 1990, a tragic event occurred that changed the lives of both Christian and Marlon Brando. Christian shot and killed Dog Drolet, the boyfriend of his sister Cheyenne Brando, in a shocking incident. The shooting happened at Marlon's house in Beverly Hills after Cheyenne told her brother about being abused by Dag. In a fit of rage, Christian decided to confront Dag, which resulted in an accidental shooting that killed his sister's boyfriend. The incident shocked the public and led to Christian's imprisonment. Despite Marlon Brando's best efforts to protect his son in court, he could not prevent the tragic outcome. Christian was sentenced to 10 years in prison for manslaughter, though he was later released after serving 5 years due to good behavior. This event not only devastated Christian, but also left a deep scar on Marlon Brando's life, causing him to live in perpetual regret and sorrow for being unable to protect his family. Cheyenne Brando, Marlon's daughter with his third wife, Tarita Terriapaya, was also a victim of family tragedies. Born and raised in Tahiti, Cheyenne was expected to have a peaceful life, away from the pressures and spotlight of Hollywood. However, Cheyenne also faced severe psychological issues, especially after the death of her boyfriend, Dog Drolet. Her relationship with Dag had once been her hope for finding happiness, but his death plunged Cheyenne into a deep crisis. She became depressed, suffered from mental disorders, and ultimately could not overcome her anguish. In 1995, Cheyenne committed suicide at the age of 25, leaving behind an irreparable pain for Marlon Brando and his family. Brando had tried to get Cheyenne into therapy and took care of her, but all his efforts were not enough to save his beloved daughter. Cheyenne's death was the greatest shock of Marlon Brando's life, pushing him further into despair and prompting him to withdraw from the outside world. It was a loss that Brando could never overcome, and in the years that followed, he lived in isolation, haunted by guilt and an unrelenting sorrow. The conflicts and tragedies within his family deeply affected Marlon Brando, leaving indelible marks on his mind. He was once a symbol of success and charm on the silver screen, but in his personal life, Brando constantly faced unfillable pain and loss. His children, especially Christian and Cheyenne, bore the consequences of his tumultuous life. Marlon's fame and complex nature not only affected him, but also deeply hurt those he loved the most. Social activism and final years. Marlon Brando was not only a screen legend, but also a symbol of courage and the spirit of fighting for justice. He spent his entire life speaking out for the marginalized and the oppressed, unafraid to use his fame to fight for the values he believed in. Brando was especially passionate about human rights, most notably his active involvement in the civil rights movement for African Americans and Native Americans. In the 1960s, when the civil rights movement in the United States reached its peak, Brando was not just an observer, he bravely stepped into the fight, standing alongside leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., and he did not hesitate to denounce injustice and racial discrimination. His protests and speeches were clear evidence of his willingness to stand up for justice, even if it meant facing difficulties and controversy. Moreover, Brando was a strong advocate for Native American rights. In 1973, he made headlines by refusing to accept the Oscar for his legendary role as Vito Corleone in The Godfather. Instead of attending the ceremony, he sent Sacheen Littlefeather, a Native American actress and activist, to represent him and deliver a message protesting the way Hollywood portrayed Native Americans on screen. This bold act garnered global attention, sparked intense debates, and made it clear that Brando was never afraid to stand up for his beliefs, even at the cost of his career and reputation. In particular, Brando also deeply cared about environmental issues. He purchased a small island in Tahiti called Tetiaroa, with the dream of transforming it into an ecological paradise, a place where people could live in harmony with nature. For Brando, Tetiaroa was not only a private retreat, but also a symbol of his dream for a sustainable world, a place where people respect and protect the natural environment. Brando spent many of his later years striving to make that dream a reality. He participated in development projects in Tahiti, supporting the local community by providing education for children and developing environmental protection programs. The bond he built with the community there not only showed his love for nature, but also stood as a testament to his compassion and dedication to humanity. Despite his active social engagement, Marlon Brando's later years were overshadowed by loneliness and unrelenting sorrow. After the tragic deaths of his two children, Christian and Cheyenne, Brando closed himself off from the world. He isolated himself in his Beverly Hills mansion, far from Hollywood and its dazzling lights. Most of his time was spent immersed in books, studying indigenous cultures, philosophy, and religion, things that provided him solace amidst his tumultuous life. Brando's health gradually declined as he faced type 2 diabetes and heart complications due to years of poor dietary habits. Hospitalizations became more frequent as respiratory problems and lung issues worsened. On July 1, 2004, Brando passed away at the age of 80 from respiratory failure caused by pulmonary fibrosis, ending a life filled with constant highs and lows. Marlon Brando was not only one of the greatest actors of all time, with unforgettable roles, but also a symbol of courage and a desire to change the world. He lived and fought for what he believed was right, and it was this that made his name special and irreplaceable in Hollywood history. From his contributions to the art of cinema to his meaningful social activism, Marlon Brando left behind a legacy that transcended the silver screen, a legacy of fighting for justice, human rights, and freedom. Although his life was full of tragedies and sorrow, Marlon Brando will forever be remembered as a symbol of unwavering resistance to injustice, and as a man who always sought truth in art and in life. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more exciting content. Leave a comment and share your thoughts. See you in the next video. Goodbye.